This What's Working with Cam Marston podcast is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stellas. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is the show designed to reveal the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace trends in the workplace, the workforces, and the marketplaces around us. I try to find us guests that can talk about these trends in such a way that something that they can tell us about what they've done or what they've been through or what's happened to them will mean something to us, that will resonate in us. And perhaps if we take action, it will make us a little bit better at whatever it is that we do. It's the trends that are shaping business that I'm after, and there are never a short supply of them. This week, we're going to look at the trend in hardwood lumber pricing. Oh my goodness. So there's pine lumber pricing, which is a show all to itself someday, but hardwood lumber pricing is no different. It's just extraordinary, the pricing of wood. And I thought there's got to be a culprit there somewhere. Where is the culprit? And I'm learning that there's not a culprit. There's not a single thing. It is, in fact, as my guests will say in a moment, the perfect string of events that has created what did they call it? The perfect storm. It's the perfect storm. Everything from the weather in Texas 18 months ago to trade deals that were struck years and years and years ago, to the cost of freight to move across the road, to labor shortages. And believe it or not, what so many of us are used to citing as the reason for business problems today, COVID is low on the list, not high on the list, but low on the list. The impact of COVID being, some of which is being the difficulty of finding people to get to work, is having an impact. But COVID, of all the things, from what my guests will tell me, is the least of them. And these lumber prices, I'm sad to say, are likely going to stay where they are, according to my guests. And we'll hear them talk about why that is in a little while. It is an extraordinary and extreme story about the perfect stream of events that has put pricing the way it is. And when I ask them for the future of lumber pricing, not a whole lot of change in the near future is what they're predicting, which is, I guess you kind of get used to it. We seem to have gotten used to it in other things in our world, get used to higher prices, whatever it may be. The gas prices jump up and we complain, and goodness knows I do. And we quietly figure out how to accommodate it. And is it going to be like this with lumber pricing as well? There's an extraordinary cry out there right now. Are we going to quietly figure out how to accommodate it in our lives? I don't know. So much seems to be costing more and more these days. You wonder when something's going to yield, when something's going to break. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it'll be. However, this whole lumber pricing thing has led to some wonderful internet memes. I don't know if you follow these things. I tend to find them and just find them really funny. One of which is the post is there's like a 2x4 on the side of the road, and people are picking up gold bullion, is what they call it, as the cars pull over to pull the board off the road and put it in their car, the value of the wood. And for those that are in the wood market, they get the joke, because that stuff is so much more expensive than it ever has been before. These are the trends in the wood industry. These are the trends that my friends at Sandifer Wealth Management, Mark Salyers and Jamie Sandifer, they're keeping an eye on trends like this in the financial services world. What you need to know, what you need to be doing to make sure your retirement is safe and fruitful. Things that you can do for your family and your close employees that will make sure that upon you selling your business, you transitioning out of your business, whatever it may be, that your employees, your top performers, your family are taken care of. If you're in that position, you're looking at a transition out, and wondering how to take care of those close to you or make sure you're making the right decisions on your transfer out, I want you to give them a call. Sandifer Wealth Management. The two principals, Mark Salyers and Jamie Sandifer. And you can find them online at sandiferwealth.com. Check them out. You'll find a family feel, good people. I visited with them in their offices a number of times. Enjoy them immensely. Give them a call. When we come back, we'll be talking about the trends in hardwood lumber pricing. Hold on to your hat. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston.
I'm Eric Cromwell. The law firm of Cromwell & Associates can help guide your decisions regarding the life you've created with estate planning tools like wills and trusts. We've planned meetings with first-generation business owners and large multi-generational family groups. With locations in Mobile and Fairhope, we can assist you and your family through every stage of life. To learn more, call 251-605-9075 or find Cromwell & Associates on Facebook.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Now offering the purchase of the Stella Artois Chalice, a beautiful stemmed glass with the Stella logo. The purchase of each Stella Artois Chalice provides 5 years of clean water for someone in one of 13 developing countries around the world. Learn more at StellaArtois.com. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
A cool thing happened back in '64. That's when Keith Air Conditioning opened their doors. And ever since then, they've earned your family's trust, fixing your AC when it bites the dust.
It's hotter than hot season, and for 3 generations, Keith has earned your trust during the hottest time of the year. Every Keith technician is an expert, because when the heat's the worst, you need the best. So turn to the 2 names you can count on, Keith and Carrier.
Mobile's leading name in comfort since 1964.
License number 83731.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in the studio today with Bert Scarbrough. He's a partner in Premier Lumber here in Mobile, as well as Brian Robertson. He is with Robertson Construction. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Thank you. Bert, let's start with you. Our focus today is going to be on the price of wood. We're going to focus particularly on your specialty, the price of hardwood, and how these prices have changed and what it means to the consumer. But to get some perspective, give us a little bit of your background, Bert. Where you come from? What's your story?
I started as a hardwood lumber inspector out of college, and now I'm into purchasing of the hardwood lumber for Peach State Lumber Products in Kennesaw, Georgia, and Premier Lumber Products in Theodore, Alabama. So every day I deal with sawmills and overseas vendors dealing with hardwood and hardwood plywood.
And you've had a front row seat for all this lumber pricing. How long, I want to get you in here, Brian, but how long has this phenomenon of this radical price change been going on? Is this a year, 2 years, 5 years?
It was set up probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been a roller coaster ride. Like everyone in the hardwood lumber industry, it's historic. It's never been seen before, from record low prices to record high, which makes it seem more dramatic than it probably is, because we went from the low lows to high highs in a matter of months.
Yeah.
And it caught a lot of us off guard.
Brian, you're with Robertson Construction. Introduce
Yes,
yourself, if you would, please.
Well, I'm my daddy is Roe Robertson, and I'm Brian Roe Robertson, and my daddy was the baby of 14, and my Papa Roe was a builder. Back when builders meant they built everything, wasn't a cell phone. And so Papa Roe had laborers, not children. So we got into building back then, but we formed a company in 2001. My dad and I, we've been building homes and cabinets since then. Primarily, that's what we do. I have a partnership in a site work company where we, do earth moving operations. And I'm partners in a company in Baldwin County to build homes over there, which is Thompson Robertson Construction. And we do primarily beach houses and vacation homes over there.
So let's tell the story of this lumber pricing and this remarkable change from, let's say, how it originates on the food chain to what the end user sees. And that means we begin with you, Bert, with the price of lumber. Let's begin this with an overview of what's happened. Why is the end user out there paying so much for the lumber these days? And there's got to be 1,000 factors in here, but give us some of the ones that are most significant.
It started out as it's really a perfect storm of events to happen simultaneously. And most people feel COVID is. COVID played a small role in it, but it started way back with the trade deal, in particular with China. And China was using probably 70% of all U.S. hardwoods, but most importantly, they were using the low-grade hardwoods. And as a sawmill has to sell the entire tree, so 70% of it was going to China. It stopped. There was an oversupply, which led to price decrease, and now a huge price increase, which is COVID had a huge effect in labor, which is really had an effect on supply. And then you also have other factors such as Canada. The COVID events in Canada still have it shut down, and Canada has imported more U.S. hardwoods in the last several months than ever in history.
So everybody wants U.S. lumber right now. Everybody wants U.S. hardwoods. Let's be clear. And you said low-grade hardwood. Give me an example. Tell me what a low-grade hardwood is. Let's put a name on it so we can talk about it.
To simplify it down, a low-grade hardwood is basically your 2 and 3 common, which is your lower grades. It's used in more furniture components, which now used to be made in North Carolina. Now most of them are made in Asia, China.
So the products the wood that was being sent to China was being made into furniture that was being returned to the United States. Is that right? Or were they using it in China as an end user, as a destination?
No, most of it was being returned all around the world.
Okay.
The U.S., in particular, the East Coast, has the finest hardwood in the whole world. It's the perfect growing condition, soil from New York all the way down to Alabama.
So give me a handful of species of hardwoods that my listeners will recognize.
White oak being the most popular one right now. It's on a skyrocket. Walnut, cherry, birch, maple, both hard and soft maple. It just goes on from there, and then you can get into the imports.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll use white oak to talk about this phenomenon. The growers have white oak on their land. They're being cut. The white oak is then being shipped to China. China's turning it into furniture, which is then being shipped all across the world. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and COVID impacted this because of a shortage of labor, causing, explain that. Put one and one together for me on COVID and the labor shortage.
COVID really affected it. Of course, obviously, it had a big effect on many businesses, but in particular, the sawmill businesses. A lot of the laborers, either they were receiving government subsidies not to work, take time off, so it affected the labor that way. But a lot of it started with the trade war.
Yeah, go into the detail on that trade deal for me.
So when you had the trade deal, duties and tariffs were placed on Chinese plywood, and we were using 80% of all our plywood was imported, and even a lot of the domestic ones used imported cores, which is the skeleton of a plywood, so to speak. So even a domestic plywood, a lot of them had imported parts in. Duties and tariffs were placed somewhere in the neighborhood, I don't remember the exact amount, but like 200%. So it took a $15 sheet of plywood, now made it $100. Obviously, we couldn't sell it. And in return, China put duties and tariffs on our hardwood lumber.
So let me stop here. I want to make sure I understand. We, the United States, put duties and tariffs on our lumber to sell it to China. Is that right? We marked it up.
No, we put the duties and tariffs on their plywood.
On their plywood.
And they put it on our lumber that they were using 70% of.
Okay. So we're kind of in a trade war here, a battle here.
Simplest terms, yes, I would call it a trade war.
Okay. And it was begun back in the day. How long ago was this begun? This was 15 years ago?
No, this wasn't that long ago. I would say 5 years ago.
Okay. So what we're seeing today, of the many factors is, all right, the trade war has now played itself out, and the end user on both sides, is it on both sides, is getting hammered
Correct.
here?
Absolutely.
So some guy who's buying furniture who lives in Sweden, we'll pick this just out of the air, from China is also paying record prices for this furniture.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not unique to the United States.
Not at all.
Okay. What's happening now? Is there any cry today for these tariffs to say, okay, guys, you guys stop your little boxing match between each other because the end user's getting crushed here? What's the conversation today?
The conversation today is many of the products now have to come out of Vietnam, including the plywood you see now. And the biggest issue is the shipping out of Vietnam with the ports that aren't as modern as they were in China, and as many goods it's trying to ship out of Vietnam. The infrastructure in Vietnam can't handle the overload. So the ships are taking, there's reports of them waiting a month just to be loaded, and then you have a month transportation time. It's a shipping nightmare. So it's affecting not just lumber, but every product across the board.
So I was even told that the
this is Brian. Hold on, let me introduce you so everybody knows who's speaking. This is Brian Robertson with Robertson Construction. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm sorry to butt in.
No,
I was even told by a salesman, because I got a chance with a salesman here to maybe find out some truths on the higher end. I was even told that the shipping cost was going up because the containers in China they don't have any more. Like they're actually having to pay. And I'm not going to say what company told me this, that they had to pay for a ship to take empty containers over there to fill up. So they had to pay freight both ways. Ship to take the containers, load them up, and then put them back on the ship, and then pay to get them back over here.
And each one of these additional expenses ultimately gets passed on to the end user in some way or another.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just bottom line.
Correct.
Go ahead, Bert.
Yes, have to. And yeah, the shipping container shortage has been going on a while, and it's to give you some idea, a 40-foot container out of Asia 4 years ago was running in the neighborhood of $4,000, give or take.
Let me make sure that's clear. A 40-foot container coming out of Asia to the United States, go ahead,
was $4,000 to ship it from port to port.
Okay.
And as of last week, there were reports of $21,000.
Really?
And just that alone, there's 900 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood in a 40-foot container. So you can do the math. Just in the shipping is an astronomical amount.
You know, this is a crass question, but who's making the money? Where's the money going?
If you really want me to tell you what I think, I'll be happy to tell you what I think, because it's not me. It's not Brian Robertson, I can tell you that. And I don't think it's Premier Lumber or them. My guy, the lumber yard that I buy my framing material for the homes, you know, we had a conversation about it a while back, and he said, Brian, by the time we at Ford Lumber Company get a shipment of lumber, it's been sold 4 or 5 times. The lumber's cut, it's milled, it's sitting on a yard.
Correct.
Right here, some of it pretty close to us for the pine lumber that we're using, you know. And before it gets to Ford Lumber, who is the distributor that's going to sell it to me, who I'm the next step to the actual end user, the home buyer that's going to have to pay for it eventually, you know, it's already been stocked and sold. You know, 4 or 5 different people's done made money off of it sitting in the yard.
Put a markup on it down all the way.
This guy buys it, you know, so I'm just a lowly home builder, a little country boy, so I don't understand the stock market and everything else. But to me, that's where a lot of it's coming from, is there's somebody making a lot of money before it even gets to a store where you can sell it.
Go ahead, Bert.
As a lumber supplier, I can tell you, we like lower prices better than higher prices. We are more profitable when the prices are low. This is not a good time to be in the lumber business, whether you're...
And I wasn't trying to take a shot at you.
No,
I'm saying it's way above where you're at, I feel.
Which leads to the labor cost. You look at each one of those stops, from a sawmill, concentration yard, distribution yard, delivery, job site. Each one of those is now paying more in labor. Lumber has to be stacked by hand in most cases and transported by U.S. trucks, and the shipping just on the U.S. side's gone up 400%. Mm-hmm. So a log coming out of the forest is costing a lot more just to get to the sawmill, and then the sawmills now is paying, instead of paying $12, $15 an hour for an employee to work, they're they're offering 20, 25 and still can't hire enough people to work.
Let's pick this up when we come back from break. I tried to get some sawmill owners, and I'll give you my response. I'll give you a sense of their response when we come back from break when I tried to get them on the show. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston in the studio today talking about lumber pricing. We'll be right back.
I'm Paul Lewis, General Manager of Roy Lewis Construction. Many of our commercial buildings you drive by daily on both sides of the bay are the fruits of our client relationship since our beginning in the early 80s. It is our mission to bring value to our clients, from retrofits to ground-up construction and everything in between. We have more advocates than any of our competitors who have been in business twice as long. Same with repeat business, same with referrals. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com and let's talk about your next commercial project.
Hi, I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing in downtown Mobile. We make drinkable, flavorful craft beer perfect for life on the Gulf Coast. So pick up one of our six-packs before your next adventure or stop by our tap room for a relaxing afternoon with friends. Follow us on social media for the latest beer releases and events and ask for a Braided River at your favorite bars and restaurants. Thanks for your support. We look forward to sharing our beers with you.
This is Cam Marston, and I'm with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, if a homeowner thinks they have termites, do you offer inspections? What about someone buying a new home? Can you come in and take a look and see if there are termites in their new home?
Yeah, basically what we would do on a home above and beyond anyone else is we actually do a thorough inspection. But above that, we will use infrared imaging that will allow us to see problems in the wall and at times can tell us if there's anything going on.
That's fantastic, Cajun Mike. How can people find you?
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pest.com.
King Solomon wrote, "Without consultation, plans are frustrated, but with many counselors, they succeed." The law firm of Cromwell and Associates has the legal counsel that can help your business succeed with experience in LLCs, corporations, and tax. I'm Eric Cromwell. Our law firm has locations in Mobile and Fairhope. Call 251-605-9075 or search for Cromwell and Associates on Facebook. And let's discuss how we can help you.
Hey, this is Cam. Thanks for listening, and I hope you're really enjoying the podcast. Do me a favor and search for Cam Marston on your social media outlets and like us or follow us or whatever is the right thing to do. Also, if you know others who'd benefit from the podcast, please forward it on to them and encourage them to listen. If you're so inclined, we'd love your rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Those ratings matter. Finally, don't be a stranger. Email me with your comments, your feedback, your thoughts, your show ideas, whatever. Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. I'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you very much for listening. Now, back to the show. We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston in the studio today talking about lumber prices. I'll clear my throat here in a moment. I tried to get sawmills on the show. I've called 3 of them now, and each of them have said, I don't want to be on the show. I don't want to talk about this on the radio, which of course led the conspiracy theorist in me to say, these guys must be tonning it because they don't want to talk about how good it is right now. Anybody who doesn't want to talk about it is the one that's, just fat with money.
I'm talking a lot.
Is there any truth to that? Go ahead. Brian, what do you think?
Like I said, I don't actually know any sawmills because I don't buy from them. I have friends that actually haul the wood to them and all. I know they're not making any more money. The guys hauling the logs, like I said, we got that clearing company, and we love to find these, logging guys that'll come take the trees off our hands because if we have to take them, we just have to dump them in a hole and they're gone. We'd love, to take that trucking off of us. So I know they're not making any more money. They're still working to keep the same trucks running on the same road that, changing oil and belts and trying to keep an old truck running to keep in business. So I know they're not making a lot more money unless they're hiding it from me. So I would love to know if the sawmills, how they're doing, but I think it's above the sawmills personally.
Yeah.
Like you said, the conspiracy theorist in me is there's some hedge fund guy in New York that's making all the money before it ever actually makes.
I think I can
to us
Bert,
to any of these guys.
Give an answer for that. The sawmill, I'm very close friends. I talk with many sawmills daily, grew up with a lot of them. And I can tell you for sure, and you can even check what I'm saying based on data. Many sawmills in the hardwood business are family-owned industries. I would say 99% of them. And a lot of them have been in the same family for generations. Just in the last few years, just in this last year, many of them are even filing bankruptcy, having some of the worst years ever. It doesn't matter about the price if the product's not available, which leads to the kiln drying. White oak prices might be at record highs. It doesn't matter if I'm offering a sawmill $1 more than the market price for white oak. If the logs aren't available, and then the kiln drying time, even if they have a white oak log, it's 6 to 8 months before that board is now a sellable product. So they can be sitting out there knowing their money has to wait 6 to 8 months. And as far as every step along that way, from the transportation to the labor, is costing more. Mm-hmm. And there's a labor shortage, so they can't produce as much as they want. It's a very frustrating place to be in. And me as a distributor, I'm suffering from the sawmills not having a product. Like if you call a lumber yard, oh, we're out of 2x4s or pressure treated.
That's happened a lot here lately.
Absolutely. That kills us.
I had to spend $20,000 at Lowe's on OSB because Ford ran out.
Yep.
And that's
OSB.
never
help us out. OSB.
The orientated strand board. It's kind of looks like particle board to most people, but it's not particle board. That's what most of the houses, the roof decks and the walls are sheathed with. A small house, you'd usually use about 200 sheets. It went from $5 to up to $48.
Unbelievable.
Which now a lot of that, there's many factors into even the OSB, which ties into the hardwood, the birch and maple plywood used in cabinet construction, is the simple things most people, I even overlooked, like a cabinet maker not being able to buy hinges that are made in China. He can't get paid on a job because he's waiting on a 35-cent hinge. In the plywood side, most of the mills not only were having labor problems, dealing with import laws, so they had increased demand, but they couldn't get the glue to make the plywood because it was made overseas.
So, see, I actually heard, and we had the coronavirus was the greatest excuse ever, and I'm actually guilty of using it. Hey, I'm sorry, we're not finished with your job, Corona. But then, for a year we could say Corona, that's why we're not finished. And if I was a billionaire, I'd make one of those plants, whatever that plant in Texas that got destroyed from the snow, because my paint right now is gone because the chemical of that plant, the glue for the OSB, that's why OSB, one of the reasons they're high, because that plant made the glue. The plumbers are going up because that chemical is in the PVC that they have to buy, and the electricians are using it to go up because it's in the coating of the wire. That's the excuse I've heard. I've heard the Texas plant more than I heard Corona in the last few months.
So that freeze, that deep freeze that hit Texas out of so hard, it shut down petroleum production for a while. We saw gas prices spike as a result. And now that deep freeze is impacting the glues that you need to get your job done.
Every aspect of home building.
It is the perfect storm.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That was the latest in the series of events that what you would call the perfect storm.
Oh, if I was a billionaire, I'd make 4 of them plants, one in each corner of the country, because whatever that plant makes, it's the most necessary item in the world.
Yeah, right now, no kidding.
A lot of it just wasn't one plant. A lot of those chemicals, they might assemble it and store those chemicals in Texas, but a lot of those chemicals and processes were brought in overseas. A lot of, you look at EPA regulations in this country, even if you run a pressure-treated sawmill or a railroad tie place, from the soil samples to everything involved, it's easier to sub out chemicals. If you're making glue, it's easier to bring them in, mix them together, than try to create it here and deal with government regulations that would really increase the price.
Do you foresee Vietnam becoming more and more critical to what you do, or are you going to wait for things to right themselves and China becomes back to number one?
Okay, that's first, the day China opens up, I'm back in China buying it. On the second theory is, now this is where I'm probably going to get in a little bit of trouble here.
Sorry about that.
There's a shipping term called countervailing, which means a product is made in one country, it's shipped to another country, stamp made there to avoid duties and tariffs.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's why I say I can't read Chinese or Vietnamese. I just know the plywood looked the same that I was getting.
Okay,
So keep going with countervailing.
I'm not a direct importer anymore because countervailing is punishable by jail time in this country. I am a U.S. citizen. I'm not risking it. So we got out of the import business when that came about. A lot of the importers, that plywood, that birch plywood in particular, which billions of dollars were imported in here. The same guy in China I was buying from years ago is the same guy dealing with it in Vietnam. It's the same writing. It is the same plywood. Birch and poplar do not grow in Vietnam.
So let me get this straight. It's going from China to Vietnam. It's being stamped made in Vietnam, so the taxes and duties aren't hit with it in China. Is that correct?
Correct. Which just adds to the cost to the end user because now there's more steps. Now, I'm not saying I've got firm proof other than what I don't need government agencies coming down on me. I am not importing anything directly because of this. But I can tell you it is out there. I have seen it. And if you look at the materials of where it say it's being made, those materials are not in that country.
Interesting. And that's interesting. That's phenomenal that the people are bootlegging wood.
It goes on more items than just that.
Sure.
Which leads to the poor infrastructure in Vietnam. My personal take on it, Vietnam is being used as a port so that China can sell goods. China knows they have to move goods. This is an excuse for them to raise the price, which just cycles on down in. Where they're caught is the infrastructure in Vietnam is not as modern as China. China might be able to load 1,000 container ships. Vietnam's probably loading 10 a day.
Yeah.
So it's that huge delay everyone's experiencing in stores and all items.
Well, maybe somebody in Hong Kong is listening and they'll spend a little money in Vietnam at the port and they'll be able to load 1,000 ships.
I'd love to know that somebody in Hong Kong is listening. Brian, what are you're building homes. You're looking into the eyeballs of the home buyer.
Yes, sir.
And you're
best place to be.
You're handing them the price. Here's what this is going to cost. What is their reaction?
Well, the last probably 7 houses I've got under construction right now, they've been framed up for about a month now, and I literally just put a price on them yesterday to get them on the MLS because it was somebody asked me how much are you going to sell the house for. I'd tell them straight up, I don't know.
Yeah.
Until I end up getting all my bills in and seeing what this framing material actually end up costing me, because it used to be back, even a few years ago, if my lumber company gave me a price, hey, here's a quote on this house, they would honor it during the whole house. They'll tell you straight right now, this price is good for a couple of days.
Really?
And so instead of shipping pieces of the house, what we've been having to do is literally ship the whole house at one time, so I know that the price is not going to go up.
Wow.
I've got something to add to that. On the distributor lumber side of that, many sawmills now on white oak, pine, you name the species, when I order lumber, before I knew the price when I ordered it, now I'm getting what they call price at time of shipment, and that is when the truck leaves the lumber yard. So it's hard for me as a distributor to give a price, on a house or any product when I'm not even sure what my final cost is. And a lot of shipping companies, it is not uncommon now. We say, okay, that tractor trailer to bring the lumber is going to cost us $2,000. We get the bill and it's $3,500 or $4,000. So there is a huge price swing increase. No one's giving prices right at the time or giving much time for prices.
Yeah, my guys give me no time. They literally tell me, the price is changing so fast. And it's almost impossible in a price house. I actually got a young guy that I'm working with right now. He's first home. He's about 22. This 22-year-old's got $40,000 in the bank. Credit score great, he's just the perfect client. I literally told him, let's wait a few months.
Well, let's talk about that when we come back from break. Is this the new normal? And what could happen that would change things? What would happen? What could happen? What factors would help you be able to do a better job for your customers? And we'll get into that when we get back from break. You're listening to What's Working. I'm in the studio today. Bert Scarbrough with Premier Lumber here in Mobile. Brian Robertson, his father started Roe Robertson Construction. He's now running the show. We'll be right back.
At Roy Lewis Construction, we're in the business of adding value. Whether it's working with you to meet your unique business needs or making investments in our community in lasting ways, providing unparalleled value and quality in every commercial construction project. When planning your next commercial project, reach out to Roy Lewis Construction. We'll pair you with a designer that best suits your project needs and work with that designer to balance the best architectural outcome with the best budget outcome. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com, building legacies one relationship at a time.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit springhilltoyota.com today. It's just that easy.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner in Mobile at 666-1616.
I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing. We want beer that goes along no matter where the adventure takes us and that doesn't make us choose between great beer and drinkability. We're drawn to the Delta and united by beer because to us, the best way to celebrate the Delta is to slow down and savor the moments and the beer together. Come visit our tap room in downtown Mobile and ask for us at your favorite bar or restaurant. Visit online at braidedriverbrewing.com.
Hi, I'm Bruce Tulgan, author of The Art of Being Indispensable at Work, published by Harvard Business Review Press. If you like listening to this show as much as I enjoyed being a guest on this show, maybe you'll be a fan of my new podcast, The Indispensables. Each week, I ask my guests what sets them apart in the workplace, what makes them tick, and what makes them so successful. I've interviewed some amazing people at all levels and organizations of all shapes and sizes with some amazing stories, including the former Chief of Staff of the United States Army, General Dennis Reimer, New York Times columnist Ron Lieber, Kara Golden, the founder and CEO of Hint, and many, many more. Consider please listening and subscribing to The Indispensables on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this show.
We're back. I got these two gentlemen in here talking about lumber pricing. I want to ask you both, is this the new normal? Is this the way it's going to be? Somebody out there is thinking about building a home and has budgeted something based on pricing that they may have gotten 3-4 years ago, and suddenly that pricing is irrelevant.
God, I hope not.
Yeah.
I love being able to tell somebody your house is going to cost this, and at the end of the day, that's what it costs. One, because if it's a hard money job for me, If I give them a hard money price, which I'm very leery of right now because of the volatility in the market, if it goes up, I have to eat it, and that's a meal I can't afford. And then if I'm doing one where I'm doing like a fee build or the homeowner's paying for the bills, I like being within a percent or two of what I told them it would cost before, at the end when we get done, because if the house goes way over, most of the time I can say, look, you picked this out up front and then you changed granite and it cost an extra $5,000. That's why the number's up, not because of materials or something that nobody could control.
What would have to change to make this return to a more predictable business cycle for you?
I don't know if I need to do this or not. This might be against all you and all your listeners. Donald Trump need to be back elected as president. He might have caused all this with the tariffs. course in the get-go. But I'm not very political anymore because I just discussed it, but I really think it's got to start at Washington. We've got to figure out how to get everybody and their buddies up there that are lobbying and everything. We got to figure out how to make it where it's easier on us as a normal people.
More business friendly.
More business friendly, because right now with, like you touched on the EPA regulations, it's just crazy how much you take trucking. And like I said, I've got a site work company. If I go buy a brand new Mac right now, $200,000 Mac dump truck, the Mac salesman will tell me you need to buy the extended warranty on it because you're going to need it.
Oh, really?
Because of this DEF system that the government's forcing on all the tractor trailers right now.
This what system? Say that again.
It's a DEF. It's basically you got to run soap along with your fuel. You have two separate tanks. By your fuel, you fill up your fuel tank, and then you fill up your DEF tank, and it basically cleans your exhaust.
All right. Yeah, I can understand why.
So I know that's a way off topic, but
no. But I so your opinion is if this is going to change, it's going to have to start in D.C.
It's got to, because everything rolls downhill. Here in Alabama, we're so far behind the curve. If you want to know how I look at trends and prices, I watch California.
Yeah.
Because when something happens in California, if they change from oil rub bronze fixtures to chrome fixtures in California, I know in about a year and a half, we're going to start seeing that in down here. So we're on the tail end of everything.
California is a trendsetter in every part of business that I'm aware of, whether it's human resource practices to hinge colors. What do you think? What's going to make things? Is this the new normal? What's going to make things reverse?
Quite simply, the demand has to reach the supply level, or come back down to the supply. And labor is the big issue right now, affecting every sawmill, distribution yard, construction company. When the cost of labor has really astronomically shot up, and there's still a huge shortage of available workers for everything. Everything is costing more, taking longer.
Yeah.
And I think it will sort out. Do I think we're going to return to prices we saw 4 years ago? No, I don't. I think certain woods like poplar and white oak might be overpriced right now. I think you'll see a drop, but I don't think you're going to see what we saw 4 years ago.
Yeah. So what does your gut say? What does your gut say is going to happen? So we've talked about what the data says. We've talked about a lot of the detail of this. But in your gut, this phenomenon that's impacting both of your businesses, what's going to happen? Brian, we'll start with you.
My gut says I'm going to do just like I have for 20 years. We're going to keep building, keep working out, just stay out of the hole that whatever we get into.
And your home builders are going to figure out a way to pay for it.
We'll figure out a way to make the house as cost effective as possible. To give them a good product. If it gets to the point where I can't build a good product at a reasonable price, I'll just have to do something. I guess, you can make $20 an hour working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be able to get your order right.
I've met you and spent a little time with you. That's a stretch.
Well, just no onions. I don't want any onions on anything. There'll be no more onions.
Bert, what's going to happen?
I think he really hit the nail on the head. We're going to keep doing what we do. The lumber prices, we hate high lumber prices more than anybody, but we can't do it at a loss. We can't make money. I've got employees counting on it, a growing company in Premier Lumber and Theodore, customers at Robinson Home. I mean, we do the very best we can. We're all in this together. If a home builder is not making money, a cabinet shop's not making money, as a lumber supplier, I'm not making money.
Yeah.
So we're in this together. Our price is going to go up, yes. I think we're on a high end of the trim. In the lumber business, things typically move on an 18-month scale.
Yeah.
We're 20 months into it right now. I think we're going to start seeing a little bit of a pullback. It's not going to be a lot, but I think it'll be a welcome pullback.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is going to be like is the people that actually provide a good service are going to make it, and the people that shouldn't be in business anyhow are building a bad product in good times and bad times. I think like Premier Lumber, from what I've seen from them, they so far have been one of the best hardwood vendors that I've had. So I think no matter what the price is, there's going to be somebody that's willing to pay for a good product. And I think if you do a good product and do a good job, I think you're going to be fine.
So one of the theories, and we're going to get a little bit off topic, and Brian, you and I talked about this prior to the show beginning, that I've always heard, and this is not exactly on the timber prices today, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, is the closer you get towards using the wood as the final product, all right, the closer you get to the end user, the more profitable it is. So the grower, the landowner out there who's listening right now, who's got these white oaks on his or her land, or timber, pine, goodness knows there's a surplus of pine, is getting the short end of the deal right now. And towards the tail end, whoever's installing it for the homeowner to use is getting the better end of the deal. Is there any truth in this?
I think you're right in one way. That's the cost of labor. The landowner growing the tree doesn't have a lot of labor in watching that tree grow. The guy moving that log to the sawmill's got more labor. The sawmill's got even more than that. At the distribution yard, now I've got lumber stackers and surfacing and milling. By the time the cabinet maker is mostly labor. So yes and no. It's a change from the raw material to the finished product. So yes, there is more money in it, but I don't think it's profit.
Yeah. Brian, you told me when I told you this earlier that I was absolutely wrong in my theory. Is that still the case?
I'm lost, I think, because I didn't remember telling you it was absolutely wrong. But as far as for the labor right now, my subs are phenomenal. I have trouble finding actual laborers, like you said. For me, to somebody to sweep the floor, I've got a superintendent, Eric New, that is as OCD as it gets when it comes to dealing with cabinets and finishing a house. I've got Travis Booth running my shop, man. And so I've got good labor there. They'd like more money, but they're happy with where they're at because they like where they're at as far as I know. Could make more money, like you said, with the way labor prices are going up. And my subs have been with me for, I think most of them at least 15 years. So they're holding my labor price is pretty well static right now. The only thing I'm doing is paying a little more for the material, like you say.
Is theft becoming a problem?
In the hardwood lumber business, and I think this speaks as industry as whole, we're notoriously a very honest industry. Most of the deals I make are handshake deals or over the telephone. My customers, I have no problem saying, hey, let me send this to you on credit. You have to close on a house. Let's get the cabinets in. We'll settle up after you get closed. We've been doing business like that for 20 years, up at Peach State, and we do it the same way in Premier. We really don't experience theft like big box stores or stuff. The people we deal with are good-natured, think like us, and are honest, hardworking Americans.
And I've been very blessed on theft over 20 years. I think I had one air conditioner stole. I had some people come in a house about 10 years ago and cut my wires out.
Yeah.
And they didn't get all of them, so I stayed in the woods the next night. I said, they coming back, and I actually caught them. I ended up on the ground in the middle of the street with Saraland Police Department drew down on me because they just seen a fat boy running down the middle of the street at 10 o'clock at night chasing somebody down the road with a pistol. So I'm like, hey, I'm the one that called you. So once they realized that, they let me get up and pick my pistol back up. But we haven't had a lot of problem with theft, and we're blessed where a lot of the buildings that we're doing is around the neighborhoods that we've built the houses. So neighbors will watch for us, say, hey, there's somebody up here messing with your stuff. The biggest problem I have for theft on me, and it's not even really theft because once it makes it to the dumpster, I don't care about it. But right now I'm seeing a rash of what I call dumpster divers, where people come in because there is a lot of waste, and we try to curtail that. But with some of these subs, they're just getting after it. They're grabbing boards and cutting them. So you have some substantial waste in the dumpster, and my insurance is not going to cover somebody getting hurt diving in a dumpster to try and dig out a 4-foot 2x4.
Yeah.
So I worry more about that than anything.
Where can people find you guys? We'll start with you, Bert. They've heard about Premier Lumber. They've heard about the way you approach your business. If they want to come check out what you got, where can they find you?
Well, you can Google or are welcome to call Premier Lumber in Theodore, Alabama. Jeff Heineman is the general manager. He handles all the sales because I'm stretched from Kennesaw, Georgia to Mobile. However, I love this. This is my favorite area to be in. And you're welcome to give us a call. You can call Jeff at 251-308-46 5437. And his name's Jeff Heineman. He would love to help you out and answer any questions you need further detail in of topics we touched about.
Yeah, Jeff's phenomenal. I've really had good luck with Jeff so far.
Brian, how can people find you?
We're rowrobertson.com. We actually have a website. I'm an old fat man, so my daughter finally built me a website because people used to ask, do you have a website? Now they just ask, what's your website?
Right.
So we finally got one, so you can see some pictures of our work there. We're several different locations on Facebook, so if you put in Row Robertson Kunst, because it wouldn't let me do that. There's a Cayman Place homepage for our subdivision, and my number is 251-422-3004. Never not like to talk to anybody. I help anybody, even if they're a home builder or building their own home.
Row Robertson.
I'll pass on my subs because I like them to be able to get the work too.
RowRobertson.com, did you say, or is it Row Robertson?
It's Row Robertson Construction.
Construction.com.
Yes,
and that
sir.
Row is spelled R-O-E.
R-O-E, yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it. It's been the perfect storm is the way you guys described it, and now I'm beginning to see where that's coming from. Thank you both very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have final comments after this break. You're listening to What's Working. Hi, I'm Cam Marston, host of What's Working. My Carrier Infinity system is quiet, energy efficient, and runs like a dream. To keep it running smoothly, I rely on a maintenance plan from Keith Air Conditioning. With a Keith maintenance plan, your home or business receives discounts and 24/7 priority service. Give Keith Air Conditioning a call today at 251-476-3610 or visit keithair.com. Keith and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
This is Cam Marston with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, houses on pilings can have termites eat their way up inside the piling and enter the house. The homeowner never knows about it, but your company offers protection. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Cam. Basically, what we have designed is a program, and what we do is we will actually drill to the center of the piling and put a product in the center that will stop the termites from coming up into the home.
Stucco exteriors as well?
Correct.
How can people find you, Cajun Mike?
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pest.com.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I'm right here in Mobile to help you select the right protection at the right price. I'll make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With me as your State Farm agent, it's easy to make the right choice. You can come by, call, or click AllisonHorner.com. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This is Jay Stubbs with Concourse Financial, and when I'm not working on an insurance plan with a financial advisor, I'm listening to What's Working with Cam Marston. Now back to the show.
I got to appreciate two guys that know their work as well as these two guys did. Sure appreciate the time they spent on the show explaining this thing. I want you all to know the amount of prep that they did and sent me in advance to help me try to get my head around these issues. Links to articles, backgrounds, stories, things like this. Stuff that added context to the story that I couldn't get into on the air. There just wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough availability to get into the depths of this. We spent, and I think those 3 segments were 36, 37 minutes in total on the issue. And there's a lot more. There's a lot more to be discussed in this thing. So we only really just touched the tip of it. And I think the most disheartening thing is it may not be changing anytime soon. And you know, I wish there was a different answer to that. I wish we could say, it's a temporary thing, much like some of these gas prices that spike. Yeah, it's a temporary thing. From what these guys describe, a lot of this isn't a temporary thing. And my conspiracy theorist suspicions of who's out there counting money were wrong. We're dead wrong. And there's a lot of people that wish the lumber prices were lower, including these two guys who depend on these lumber prices to put their customers in their business. And that was a real education for me. Well, as often at the end of every show, I want to ask you to do a couple of things for me. Number one, find me on social media and do what you need to follow this. That helps. It helps me know that you're out there first, and it helps me know that you have a way to access me. Repeatedly, and really recently at the end of this long-term care show we did a couple of weeks ago, my email and my social media connections have really just exploded with comments and ideas and suggestions and feedback, and it was wonderful. It was just wonderful to see this engagement. So follow me on social media. And number two, reach out with show ideas. Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. Again, Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. You can find each show at whatsworkingcam.com as a podcast. The show is produced each week by John Thompson, and every time I say that, it means there's another day he did not spend drinking beer on Horn Island. Lucky for me, bad for him. We'll have another show next week, everybody. Have a good week.